Come join me as we paint these vibrant koi fish. I have for you a free downloadable PDF that you can use to trace or just as a reference. I also made this color swatch to kind of see what colors I wanted to use. I didn't end up using the permanent red deep Van Gogh, it was just a little too dull, and I didn't end up using the Quin Gold, but I used the other four colors. And here was just a little sample I did just to kind of get the flow of what I wanted to do. I normally don't do these little test pieces, but I must say I had so much fun just being loose and free with this. I'm also going to be using this Jelly Roll number 10. It's a Sakura brand, and it's just a white gel pen that we're going to use for some of the highlights in the end. I'm just starting off by wetting my first fish. Now I did not map out where I was going to be putting all the different colors. I just kind of looked at a lot of pictures of koi fish and just kind of decided as I went where I was going to be putting my paint. And I have to apologize that I did not adjust my camera properly, and so some of this is going to be a little bit blurry. It's going to focus on my hand a little bit, but it's only for this first layer that it does that. So I apologize. Once you're done with your video, you find out the mistakes and there's no going back and changing it. I'm just adding some of my permanent orange. Just kind of blocking out some of the areas where I want some of that color. I kind of start off softly, but then I kind of add as I go and decide where I want that vibrancy. I'm adding some of my Azo Yellow. I'm just going to kind of drop it in. It kind of mixes on the page and kind of creates different shades of orange. Most koi fish aren't just one color, or they've got a variety of different patterns and colors in them, and I'm just kind of going with the colors that I thought were the most vibrant and were going to really pop off the page. Now I'm taking a little bit of my Pyrolysis Red. This is a Holbein color, and I'm just going to drop it in there. Just look at that spread on the page. Kind of looks scary there at first. But don't worry, it'll work itself out. And if you don't have these colors, you really can pick any color you want. If you Google pictures of koi fish, there is such a huge variety that you really can't go wrong. I just wanted some nice, warm, bright colors, so that's what I picked. And that Pyrolysis Red is a very vibrant, warm, kind of orangish red color. And see how it kind of spread into that orange? It kind of looks more natural now than when I first put it down. Just kind of working a little bit of soft color into those fins. It was really actually kind of fun to not have this all mapped out and just see where the paint took it and not overthink things. I just wanted this to be loose and flowing and just enjoy the whole process. Now we're just wetting down our second fish. Just making sure it's nice and wet. We want that paint just to be very flowy. And doing this wet on wet technique is very helpful to achieve that. I'm taking some more of that permanent orange, just dropping it in here and there. I just kind of like this as kind of the base color. And for our first fish, we use that Pyrolysis Red. And for the second fish, we're going to use that permanent red deep, and that one's a Daniel Smith. It's kind of interesting how the Daniel Smith brand in this color is more of a cool, deep red, and in the Van Gogh it was more of a warm red. So I decided I wanted this fish just to have that deep color, to be a little bit different than that first fish, so they're kind of unique in their own way. And it is kind of weird for me to not have a reference photo that I'm kind of copying and seeing where everything's at, but at the same time I'm enjoying it. It's kind of a mixed bag there of hoping it turns out because you don't have something to really gauge it on. I'm trying new experiences, I guess. And when I do look at reference photos, I tend to try to get every detail in. So not having something to look at has actually been very helpful because I'm not, focusing in on detail, and I'm just kind of creating my own. Now I'm just going to work on a little faint detail. I'm just kind of helping that dorsal fin kind of pop out a little bit. We are keeping that dorsal fin white, but it will have just kind of a little hint here and there of our other colors. And then I'm just putting in a few little fish scales. Just want a few just to give that hint and not overdo it. We want the faintest of detail. I realized I used the wrong red there. Just wanted to bring up the vibrancy a little bit. I realized those white spots were just kind of popping out too much, so I just kind of took a clean brush with water and just kind of softened those. So now we're going to work on the water and the lily pads. We're going to use Sap Green, and I'm going to be using a blue Apatite Genuine Daniel Smith color. I really like that blue because it kind of granulates and gradiates and kind of leaves a neat texture, kind of an icy feel, and it's not a color most people have. So just pick one of your darker, deeper blues like an indigo, or if you only have bright blues, you could use really whatever blue you have and maybe add in a little bit of Payne's Gray or just anything to make it a deep color. So now we're just going to, and we're going to use a little bit of Prussian blue to kind of give it a little more depth and dimension and interest. So I'm just kind of working around the fish. I'm getting the rest of the page wet, making sure it gets pretty wet, because when I was doing my little small sample, it was very easy to achieve what I'm doing now. But now that this part of the painting, or this painting is bigger, things dry a little faster. You don't always get to one side to the other with it still wet, so just make sure you have it plenty wet. And as I'm painting, I left a few areas where I want it lighter or more white, and so I'm going to kind of work around those areas. But as I'm painting, I'm just going to almost make the paint swirl, kind of give it some movement as I go. And I just kind of work around all those fins. We're going to be adding in some extra little detail in the end, but for now I just kind of want to work around them a little bit. I'm trying not to get the blue into the parts of the fins that I want to keep white. I'm using like a number 5 round brush. It's giving me plenty of room to kind of work around the fish, but also putting enough color down at the same time. I feel like I've got good control over this brush. I'm just going to put that first layer down of the lily pad, and if it kind of bleeds into the water, that's okay. We actually are going for that. We want it to almost be a reflection in the water, and the lily pads are not going to have very much detail. They're going to be pretty soft. They're just more of a soft focus, and we really want the focus to be our fish. So we're just kind of laying down that color, just kind of letting it bleed into that water. And then I'm just going to kind of drop a little of that green into the water. Everything is still very wet, and so it just kind of spreads. It's almost like it's a reflection of maybe some trees above, or the lily pads, or moss at the bottom of the pond. So we're just kind of adding that interest into the water. We don't want it just all one color. And all of this kind of dried too much, so I'm just kind of re-wetting it. But I kind of ended my color in a good spot, so we're not going to have any weird places where the colors leave a line, because everything's kind of spreading so softly. It kind of gave us that window to keep working on this water, even if our paper kind of dried too fast. I'm realizing that it's kind of drying fast down here, so I'm just going to add in some of that Prussian blue before it gets too dry, because I just want all of these colors in the water to, in the pond, to be just kind of bleed together, kind of mix on the page. I don't want any harsh lines. It kind of looks like a mess right now, but we're just going to keep working on it and just trust the process. I guarantee it will turn out in the end. And really, our last step in this painting is going to pull the whole thing together, but we're just not there quite yet. We're still working on a wet-on-wet technique here. And if your lily pads have dried by now, you can just go over the top with some clear water. We just really don't want any harsh lines. I'm just kind of working around the detail of the fish, kind of bringing that paint softly against the body of the fish, kind of filling in any little gaps. I'm just taking very, very watery of that darker blue. I'm going to add a little bit of fresh water there, clear water, just to kind of soften that. We don't want a harsh edge of shadow. Just kind of a little hint. I don't want to make that fish look muddy in any way, so I'm being pretty careful of how I'm adding in my shadow. I'm going to do the same little shadow on this fish. Softening it out with a little bit of clear water. I'm just kind of deepening the color in some places, kind of continuing to create that movement of the water. And just remember, you have the freedom to pick different colors. If you want less movement and more of a solid color, you can do that. If you want more movement, you just add it in where you want it and just kind of make this painting your own. I mean, I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go. Because in the end, I want you to be happy with your painting. And the way I hold my paintbrush at times and how my wrist moves is just kind of how my body works, how my wrist works, and yours might be different. So you might get a little bit of a different swoosh in your water than I am. And so I don't want you to compare your painting to mine. We're just kind of learning as we go and kind of having fun creating these koi fish and just having fun. Now we're going to dry the whole page, and then we're going to start working on our second layer. I'm just going to bring a little more definition into my lily pads, but we're not going for very much detail. We're just kind of bringing in that depth by adding in some shadows and just a little bit, kind of a little hint of detail. just going to bring a little extra shadow underneath the fish. It'll kind of help make it pop a little bit more, but it also gives us a little more of that rich color into the water. I'm taking a smaller brush, taking my number 1, just going to add in the eyes, just a subtle little dot there, no detail. And taking that smaller brush, I'm just going to kind of do some little swishes and swirls. This is where we're going to start adding that extra movement. I really can see this water starting to come to life. And we finished the water, and I'm just going to be adding in a little more color and vibrancy into the fish, just kind of in those darker, brighter spots. Taking a little bit of clean water, and I'm just going to kind of soften that a little bit. Now when I was recording, I didn't realize it had zoomed in. I must have hit something when I was hitting the record button, so it kind of zoomed in a little too far. And so this next little bit, we're only going to see this portion of the painting, but no worries, you'll get the opportunity to see all that little extra detail in the end. Now we're going to get out our gel pen. Our painting is completely dry, and if you don't have a gel pen, you could use some white gouache or some white watercolor, but I really like the crispness of the gel pen, and I'm just going to add some of that flowy movement into the fins of the fish. It's just going to give it more movement, and I'm just kind of doing it very lightly. I'm not trying to go too thick here. It will actually show up pretty well, but you don't want it to be a harsh line. It almost, when we're done, it won't even really feel like we used a gel pen. It'll all feel like watercolor. Adding a little detail into the fish, just little highlights. Don't want to trace everything, just a few little places. Just kind of dragging it out into the water. You can kind of see here up close. I'm just kind of dragging it out. Just love how this looks. It just really finishes it off. And we're going to add a little bit of that white into the swirls of the water. You'll be amazed to see how much movement the water achieves just by using a little bit of white pen. Look how crisp that water looks now with just that little bit of white and the movement of the fins. Here you can see it up close. Oh, I think it turned out so wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, that you tried something new, that you learned something new, and that you want to give this tutorial a try. See you on the next one.